13th in the year of our Lord 2026, and I've got some great information for you tonight. So let's just go ahead, click over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel. This is the video we're going over tonight, episode 1977. Let's go ahead and get into that. All right, Debbie BS and Glow and Viper Senior have joined us. Thank you very much, folks, for your chats already. Before we even get started, I'll get back to you here, but in the meantime, let's slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. And we have information from Dan Bongino, Vince from the Bongino Report, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I have some shout-outs to give from Peaches, just started following my channel. Teresa just started following my channel. Ricky and Linda just started following my channel. Nayway Osif just started following my channel. And EIM62. All right. Is that and Del 62? I'm not sure, but hey, thank you so much for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Movie 256 reposted my daily news wrap-up. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1976. Movie 256 reposted my episode 1973. So thank you, folks, for reposting my videos. Stephinge 101 commented on my daily news wrap-up. Debbie BS, GP Wolco 01, Viper Senior, and Cottonball 31 commented on my episode 1976. Del Defiant Bastard, okay, commented on my extra 758B. Debbie BS commented on my extra 759A. 0516 Lilo 5 Lament. Debbie BS and Golfer 19 commented on my extra 759B. And Gabble 1 commented on my extra 759C. All right, Glow Rumble number 2 show has been shared. Thank you very much. And Viper Senior, good evening, fellow patriots. Where we go one, we go all. Rumble number 5 tonight. Good job. Let me give that a thumbs up. Okay, and I'm going to give me a thumbs up for the people that followed my channel and giving me comments and reposting my video. So, okay, we can get started now. Dan Bongino, the calls are coming from inside the house. Episode 2551. Let's check this out and see what he has to say. Let me get this up past his commercial.
All game open to now. Funny neighbors back, but it's loose. Crosswatch or a cat. He did all over the. Sorry, I'm to save just to feel exhausted. Folks, stay on metabolism wrong, but with methyl AO savings, cure prevent. That may be one of the longest intros ever. But, listen, it's Monday. Like I said, I'm in a really great mood today. Slept like a rock star last night, which is great. I have to do some fake news debunking in the beginning because this is super important. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you have any inclination to trust left-wing media sources from NBC, MSNOW, the New York Times, the Washington Post, or elsewhere, I don't know why you would have an inclination to trust these people after the Russia hoax debacle where they humiliated themselves and 1,000 other anti-Trump stories that turned out to be bullshit. However, of all the fake news stories I've seen in a while, this is the fakiest of fake news. So in case you missed this whole story, there was a really devastating, unauthorized leak about a potential security situation when President Trump was in a disgusting, inexcusable leak. So the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, who I'd worked for while I was there, obviously, he wanted to personally handle this. So he goes over to the White House and do it. There's nothing controversial about this story or nothing unusual at all. He wanted to make sure that this got done. So what happens, of course? Here, put up the tweet. Thank God rapid response at the White House got on this too. Carol Leonnig, who has one of the worst reputations for truth and honesty I've ever seen. The woman's, I don't know where she gets her stuff from. She's like scoop o'clock, like trying to be a smart ass. Cash was summoned to the White House by frustrated Trump advisors today. He had to cancel his jet trip to see his girlfriend play at a country music festival in Chicago from the tarmac. The story's just total bullshit. The story's total bullshit. He never even made it to the tarmac. He's the one who went over to the White House. He wasn't summoned. Rapid response White House. Fake news at its finest. Nobody was frustrated. In fact, we'll start boosting and promoting his earlier tweet even more. Congrats, MSNOW. You played yourselves, dumbasses. Folks, I don't know why you would trust these people. Carol Leonnig has an obvious gripe against Republicans, conservatives, and anyone in the Trump administration. The story's just made up. That's why other outlets didn't run with it, but they will, because it's just part of their agenda. This is the problem with these left-wing media outlets and Compass True North, and why I won't let the infection take hold of the conservative MAGA Republican movement. Once you get off track, and you'll believe anything anybody puts out there, it's very difficult to get it back. I'm going to show you a video in a second. The guys were like wondering in the beginning of the show and rundown, what the hell? Because I don't tell them, like I submit the videos and we do a rundown, I explain it. So they've had this all weekend, and they're all thinking, why the hell is he playing a video of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer? Oh, because I'm going to show you what it looks like when you start going down. That's an extreme example of what a sociopath looks and sounds like. But when you start detaching yourself from reality and you have no empathy for other people, no sense of feeling for their feelings, you'll see now where the doomer, grifter, conspiracy theorists attacking Erica and everyone else. Folks, they don't care. You can make pleas to them all you want. Like, how can you do this? And you as a normal person, you're thinking that? Sociopaths don't think that way. They don't care about the truth. They have no empathy whatsoever. They have high social intelligence, a lot of these people, like the Ted Bundys and others, but no empathy at all. Saying like, don't kill me or don't do it doesn't affect them one bit. I know that's hard to believe. You're like, how could that possibly be? I'll play that in a second, but you're seeing it again this weekend. Lindsey Graham tragically passes out. Was he 71 years old of an aortic dissection? You can see it now on Fox. The family's released it. There's no reason at this point, based on the information we have, to assume that it was anything other than a natural but tragic cause. If other information presents itself during the course of an investigation, we'll be the first to put it out. However, it'd be irresponsible for me as a host who believes in the truth to go out there and speculate about something we just don't. All we know is that this happened. He had a history of heart problems in his family, and he tragically passed with this aortic dissection. I'm not a doctor. I don't know exactly how the dissection happens, but within minutes, I'm getting texts, I'm getting calls. Of course, we had the Jews did it. Did the Iranians do it? Can we just wait 5 minutes? I don't understand. Like, why the rush to jump out and speculate about something that's probably going to be cleared up in just a matter of hours? Here was Fox this weekend indicating early on there was no foul play, despite the fact that, again, people had to go crazy and media people. I couldn't believe it, how many texts people sent me with 1,000 different theories within 5 minutes of this before he even had the autopsy. Check this out.
President Trump here at the White House earlier today had ordered that all flags across the country be lowered to half staff in support of the life of the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, we also know that it was early this morning that the senator's team, their official office, releasing that he had died of what they are calling a brief and sudden illness. The FBI are at Senator Graham's residence, although there is no indication of foul play, according to the federal law enforcement. Earlier today, FBI Director Kash Patel said that the FBI would assist local authorities and make every resource available. So the Wall Street Journal reporting that emergency responders were dispatched to Graham's home last night and performed CPR on an individual suffering from cardiac arrest. 71-year-old Lindsey Graham was elected to the Senate more than 20 years ago. He was a loud voice in the Republican Party. He was also a close friend to Donald Trump. The two spoke just last night.
Just me, A12 says in the chat, because everybody wants to be first. I know they want to be first, but is anybody, and then someone else in the chat, I forget, said, Dan, we've been lied to forever. I get it. That's the point. That's why we voted for the Trump administration. We didn't vote for them in the lie. So then they go in there, they give you what you need, and you've got people out there already like speculating about, oh, the Jews did it, the Iranians did it. Folks, there's no evidence of that. None. There's zero evidence of that. You know, I get this question a lot, given my background and experience interviewing psychopaths, sociopaths, and there's a lot of it. You know, early on, when I was shotgunning applications, and when I was a New York City cop, you know, you shotgun applications if you want to be a federal agent. You put them out everywhere. DEA, I think I applied there, ATF, Secret Service, FBI. I wanted to go in the FBI, but the Secret Service reached out first. And I had, folks, dispensation. I'm going to mention my education. Is that okay? Are you sure? Andy gives folks, is it okay in the chat? You mentioned your education. You're probably a dumbass. It's important to the story, though. I was in, I can't even say this because it sounds like, I was in graduate school. Forgive me. I'm sorry for psychology time. I'm sorry for mentioning it. I promise I'm not trying to impress you. However, the Secret Service interviews psychopaths who threaten the president and protectees all the time. So they called me first because I had a skill set they could use, be able to translate some, jargon from psychiatrists and psychologists. Okay, done. Forget I mentioned it. However, they called first, and I was in a protective intelligence squad for a long time interviewing people threatening the president. I have a lot of experience with these sociopaths and psychopaths. So when I get this recurrent question about the doomers and the grifters, the conspiracy theory bums and everyone else, the liars and the frauds, how can they do this? I mean, this Erica Kirk lost her husband. How could they do this? They're attacking the administration for it. How can they? The answer is, I'm telling you, listen to me, please. They don't care. I mean it. They don't care. Dr. Dan, Radon 23. I wish. Yeah. Folks, they don't care. It does not impact them at all. I say that because it's important. I see on X all day. This is why I don't do it often on X. How could they? Don't you have any decency? The answer is no, they don't. It's not going, that appeal is not going to work. So what will work? The only thing that works is constantly, even at your own expense sometimes, because again, some people want to believe lies, pouring out information you can verify using fact-based evidence, and over time, hoping and praying on that regression line of history that more people fall along the line of truth than on the other side of darkness. The truth eventually does, as they say in the overworn cliche, it does eventually set you free. It's the only way. But appeals to how can you do this are not going to work. I want to show you this is an extreme example of what a sociopath looks like. And I want you to listen to this clip. This is old. This is of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who's killed in prison, right? A serial killer, cannibal. I mean, does it get worse? I want you to listen to him explain the killing as if he's talking about a prescription he got at the doctor, as if he's talking about a recap of a Dora the Explorer episode he saw or something. It's totally not emotional. He doesn't care. Either do the other sociopaths out there. Appealing to their emotions is not going to work. It doesn't function, their emotional processing system, like yours does. Watch this. You'll see what I mean. Check this out.
Did you ever tell yourself, I have to stop this? I must stop doing this?
Yes.
When it was going on?
After the second time, it seemed like the compulsion to do it was too strong, and I didn't even try to stop it after that. But before the second time, things have been building up gradually, going to bookstores, going to the bars, the gay bars, bath clubs. When that wasn't enough, buying sleeping pills and using it on various guys in the bath clubs. It just escalated slowly but surely. And after the second time, which was not planned, it was out of control. It felt like it was out of control.
Where did sex enter in to the killings, Jeff?
It was a big part of it. My only objective was to find the best looking guy that I could. Their sexual preference didn't matter to me.
Did their race matter to you?
No, their race didn't matter to me. The first two young men were white. The third young man was American Indian. The fourth and fifth were Hispanic. So no, race had nothing to do with it. It was just their looks.
Was there something sexual in the dismemberment of the bodies for you?
As time went on, Yes, I did get there was a sexual part to that. I started saving the skeletons and preserving other parts, and one thing led to another. It took more and more deviant type behaviors to satisfy my urges.
Folks, again, this is an extreme example of what the lack of social monitoring, the ability to monitor yourself in a social situation looks like. I don't want to get deep into any like pseudo psychological terms or anything like that, but social monitoring is a critical one you understand. Like you can have a very high social IQ, like a Ted Bundy. He was actually very smart. He knew how to manipulate people quite well, but he had no ability to socially monitor himself. In other words, you ever go to I've used this example before. You're with your spouse, like your wife at a work event. You don't really know a lot of work colleagues that well. So it's like the husbands will go over there and talk, and then the wives talk, whatever. And you're meeting people you've seen once or twice, and you're having a conversation. This happened to me one time. That's why I bring it up. And there's like 4 or 5 of you. You may be having a couple beers with them. And there's this one guy in the group who just won't shut up. And everyone in the group, as you ever experienced this, is uncomfortable except the guy. That's poor social monitoring. Like everybody gets it that if this was me, I know I was talking too much and I would shut up. The poor social monitor doesn't get it because he can never see himself through other people's eyes. That's the sociopath. They don't see it that way. That's why they just double down. Whatever you tell them about Charlie's case, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever you tell them, it's not going to make a dent. It's not. You can tell the guy talking 1,000 times, you've been talking 20 minutes, everybody's bored. He'll keep going. He doesn't see it that way.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. And this will be my daily news wrap up, so you'll get to catch more of this. But yeah, that was kind of a spine chilling clip that he showed there. All right, let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does
He's
come
talking about
from the Dan Bongino show. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here, slide down here, and check out what Vince on the Bongino report has to say. Lindsey Graham dead at 71. Okay, that's, of course, he reported that this morning, but I reported it last night for you. Now, I'm going to play the beginning of this, and he's having a little technical difficulty here. And this is interesting because, you know, I have technical difficulties. He has a team of people in Florida that does his technical stuff for him. See, he doesn't have any audio. Okay. Got to get rid of his gum. Okay, so he's got a team down in Florida, but let's go ahead and here we go. But let's go ahead and here we go.
Is still with us. Let's do it. Let's do it. You know what? Let's get some countdown music going. Yeah. There's no countdown though. I don't know what to tell you. Look at that. Look at Cheerios in the chat. Mega Chip is here. The puppy's sleeping upstairs, Mega Chip, after running around all morning, getting breakfast. You know, you get up, then you got to sleep. It is good to have you here, guys. All right, let's begin, huh? Hey everybody, welcome to Vince on a Monday. We have a massive show ahead for you. Some breaking news over the weekend, staggering news. Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, has passed away at the age of 71. Shocking news for all of us to find out. What we know at this hour, I will share with you. Also reactions, of course, pouring in from not just around the country, but from around the planet. We've got a lot to discuss on that subject. The senator who we thought might not be long for the world is still with us, Mitch McConnell. We just got a proof of life update from Mitch McConnell and his wife, Elaine Chao. We'll have some updates for you on that. Also, the Save America Act. With Lindsey Graham's passing, the math gets more complicated, but the push has received new vigor. We'll explain why on that subject. And the war in Iran, we've got a lot on that as well. So much to get to, all ahead on this edition of Vince. As always, so great to have you with us. Appreciate you for being here. Want to thank one of our great sponsors to start the show today. That is Fatty 15. Fatty 15. To address cognitive aging for all gummies for the kids. Just any disease. Graham has passed away at the age of 71 years old. The longtime Republican senator from South Carolina. Before that, a member of the House of Representatives. And for decades, a member of the United States military as well. He's a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. Sudden news that he's just passed. A sudden illness overtook him, and he's gone. He's gone. And it's, I mean, obviously deeply upsetting to lose somebody under these circumstances. The world is in mourning. The President of the United States has already said that for the remainder of this week, flags will be flown at half staff for the rest of the week. But what exactly happened here? Well, we got some breaking news Sunday night from Lindsey Graham's communications director, Taylor Reedy. And this is what she said about the subject. She said the medical examiner of the District of Columbia has done some preliminary work already and found that he suffered an aortic dissection due to arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease. An aortic dissection. In other words, there was a tear in the aorta, that critical artery to the heart. There was a tear in it, and as a result, he went pretty quickly. They say that once that tear begins, your chances of survival rapidly decline over the ensuing hours. And a lot of people don't even realize what they're suffering. They just think they're not feeling well suddenly, and then they're gone. And even people who make it to the hospital, the chance of success is pretty tough. So they say the death certificate is pending until all of the toxicological and microscopic testing are finalized. And at that point, the death certificate will be updated to reflect the cause of death and appropriately classify the manner of death. So they're taking a deeper look at everything that was going on chemically inside of his body prior to his passing. Now, immediately, we did hear from his fellow South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who was on one of the Sunday shows with Margaret Brennan this weekend, indicating to her that he understood this to be very likely a heart attack, but of course, as always, waiting for more information. Here's what he said on that subject.
Senator Graham's staff said that he had a sudden and brief illness. Do you know what happened? Because it shocked us, frankly, overnight.
Yeah, I don't know the details any more than his staff has released. My hunch was it was a heart attack, but I hate to just give you my opinion on what I've heard from people that are close in circle, but I think we'll have more information over the next couple of days, but it appears to have been a heart attack.
Appears to have been a heart attack. Now, you may be wondering perhaps, like, well, why are we going with the appears? What's the situation here? Why is there any skepticism? Well, first of all, like, we're just waiting for the medical examiner. That's true in every death, especially a death that's this high profile with so much attention on it. A death that's this sudden. What were the circumstances that he would pass like this? Now, the rumor mill, of course, was buzzing this weekend about Lindsey Graham and the circumstances of his death because he was just in Kiev a few days ago. The day before he died, he was in Kiev in Ukraine. And while he was there, he was meeting with Zelensky. He toured a drone factory. And of course, Lindsey Graham is a guy, I'm not going to do much throat clearing on Lindsey Graham. You know my feelings on Lindsey Graham. I've constantly been very critical of his appetites when it comes to foreign policy. I think that we need a much more reasonable Washington than the one that Lindsey Graham represented in life. But I'm not going to spend this episode litigating his politics on that subject. I'm just going to point out the obvious. The guy was for a very aggressive posture towards Russia and Iran. And as a result, there's no doubt that there are people within Russia and Iran, within both of those regimes, who would very much like to see Lindsey Graham perish from this earth. So, of course, the rumor mill was absolutely buzzing this weekend about the fact that he just came back from overseas with a lot of adversaries who would be interested in seeing his demise. So what happened? Here he is visiting Ukraine. He was in Kiev now 48 hours ago or so. This is just some video footage of that. Here he is talking from Ukraine. Watch this.
We've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. There's some things we can do on the technology front to build on the lethality of Ukraine to protect itself from ballistic missile attack. If we did that, combined with creating tools to punish those countries that prop up Putin, that make money off this war, then I think we've got the best chance since I've been coming here in the last 5 years to get Putin to the peace table.
All right, so he's saying we're doing a new sanctions package. We're working on that. I'm going back to Washington to deal with this aggression towards Russia. That was Lindsey Graham in some of the final moments of his life, making an announcement over there in Kiev, in Ukraine. Additionally, we've got footage of him meeting with Zelensky, Zelensky put this out. Again, this was prior to the news of Graham's passing. Here's that footage.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Shaking hands with various members of the U.S. delegation.
Thank you for coming, Lindsey.
Yeah, got a little update for you here.
Yeah.
Just tell me when I can talk. But good visit with the president, right?
Yeah, I think that we had really a good meeting.
Yeah,
the mood was good.
Yeah.
At the NATO summit.
We had some very important results. And I think that the decision of President Trump about licenses, positive signals about Patriot licenses, very important.
All right, so more footage, some of the last known footage of Lindsey Graham in life as he was visiting Ukraine. Now, again, like I said, the rumor mill was absolutely buzzing on this subject. But just so you understand, the Trump administration is already saying that there is no indication whatsoever of foul play. That this appears to be that Lindsey Graham did indeed perish from a natural cause, which is that he had a tear in his aorta. And it occurred to a 71-year-old man who had a history of high blood pressure and a father who suffered cardiac arrest at the age of 69 years old. Here is the update. This is from Fox, telling us the perspective from the White House and the FBI as of yesterday. Take a look at this.
So President Trump here at the White House earlier today had ordered that all flags across the country be lowered to half staff in support of the life of the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, we also know that it was early this morning that the senator's team, their official office, releasing that he had died of what they are calling a brief and sudden illness. The FBI are at Senator Graham's residence, although there is no indication of foul play, according to the federal law enforcement. Earlier today, FBI Director Kash Patel said that the FBI would assist local authorities and make every resource available. So the Wall Street Journal reporting that emergency responders were dispatched to Graham's home last night and performed CPR on an individual suffering from cardiac arrest. 71-year-old Lindsey Graham was elected elected to the Senate more than 20 years ago. He was a loud voice in the Republican Party. He was also a close friend to Donald Trump. The two spoke just last night. So President Trump here
they did. That is true. I'll get to that in just a moment. President Trump's remarks on his last call with Lindsey Graham in just a moment. Before I get there, though, I want to share with you Dr. Mark Siegel, who was also on Fox this weekend. He was assessing the medical risks in Graham's life and saying that it is very legitimate to think that somebody of his age and his medical history would be in a situation to suffer this kind of awful fatal heart attack, well, specifically aortic attack. Take a look here, Dr. Mark Siegel on that subject. Watch. Here we go.
Well, first of all, of course, great sadness, and has been emphasized the role he played, extraordinary role he played in bringing up his sister, Darlene, when his parents both died suddenly close together, father dying of heart disease. And as someone looking at the medical details, when his father dies of heart disease, a sudden cardiac arrest when he's so young, you wonder whether there could be that risk for him in terms of heart disease. And when he has a sudden cardiac arrest now at the age of 71, there's 350,000 per year of out of the hospital cardiac arrests. Only 10% of them make it because, as you can imagine, you can't get there fast enough to restart the heart right away. And so most of them don't make it. The vast majority don't make it. And most of the time, it's heart disease that causes this, Charlie, like, you know, a heart attack, a sudden heart attack, especially since he was just on a long plane flight, which can increase that risk of a clot happening. Now, none of that is known, and I'm not suggesting that that's the cause. I'm giving you the statistics of what's likely, especially at his age. You start to see sudden heart disease occurring and heart attacks occurring right around that age.
All right, so Dr. Mark Siegel giving us some of the medical perspective on this. Now, of course, we wait all the details from the medical examiner. We'll find out more about toxicology and what else may have been in his system. But the reality here, of course, is the only reality we can get our arms around at this moment is very obvious, which is Lindsey Graham has perished. He's gone. But before he died, he talked to the President of the United States.
Okay. Before he gets into that, I'm going to go ahead and move on from here. Let me click the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from
Kiev, in Ukraine.
Bongino report. This is Vince. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And Sheeby63 has joined us. That's great. Folks, I've got... Rosebud, SP, thank you for joining us. All right, let's slide down here and see what Doug in Exile has to say. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. Tim Walz massacred by Marco Rubio over destruction of Minnesota. Very interesting. Let's see what that's all about.
Tim Walz just got massacred by Marco Rubio over his destruction of Minnesota. Tim Walz is a disaster.
What would you say now to Governor Tim Walz?
Can't say it on air. But look, who pardons a child sex offender, I mean, that's how much he supports illegal aliens over U.S. citizens, U.S. citizen children.
Get ready for your education about the truth right here on Doug in Exile.
Just weeks ago, a convicted sex offender and a foreign national was shielded from deportation by the governor of Minnesota. Laotian national Tu Li Vang was convicted of repeatedly sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in the state of Minnesota. He even tried to pay his victim for her silence, and he called his heinous crimes a minor thing. Just days before this foreign sex offender was scheduled to be deported, Tim Walz, the governor, issued him a pardon, setting him free to once again endanger the children of America.
This is the Democrat Party brand, guys. This is their whole value system. They persecute the innocent and defend the guilty.
I'm glad Marco Rubio did it, but you know, this happens more times you can guess. Will, I mean, I you know, unless you understand immigration law, I see a lot of times a district attorney or in a sanctuary city, they'll downgrade a crime so they can't be removable. For instance, if you're a resident alien and you get an aggravated felony, you can be deported without even seeing an immigration judge as long as you get a felony conviction. They did that so we couldn't act to remove this person from the United States. So this happens a lot, but President Trump the Department of Justice. And thank God Marco Rubio's all of this. We're going to fight them every time they come with this.
That's their whole party brand. That's why they never put an X next to a Democrat.
Well, this week I revoked his legal status in the United States. And as a result, federal agents took him into custody. And as of today, he has been removed from the United States. Because of our action, this foreign criminal will never pose a threat to any American ever again. Americans must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals who have no right to begin with to reside in our country. This administration will always stand with the American people and defend them from violent criminals.
Tim Walz released this scum into the public. He was almost your vice president. That means he was almost in line to be your next president after Kamala Harris. That's what the kind of people that the Democrat Party are selecting for you. And they think you're racist for saying that guy should be deported. They're going, oh, you're just a xenophobe. No, we don't like predators here. We're going to go into more of the Democrat Party branding. This is about the branding of their party and Marco Rubio and the right and MAGA defending America.
Out of Zeeland, Michigan, convicted of sexually exploiting a minor. This guy.
Another one. This one in Michigan, Minnesota, Michigan.
This is who the protesters and the Democrats are defending. An illegal who is here, who has been convicted, I might say, of sexually exploiting a minor. I don't know why you all aren't angry about that.
No, all your Christian Democrat friends, all of my family members that are Democrats, they're still voting for this. This is what they vote for. As they look down their nose at me and go, you're too MAGA, you're too for Trump, you're a caveman. No, a caveman defends the people that do this.
I'll share with you. It is unfathomable to me. In Grand Rapids, they got a guy convicted of larceny and sexual assault. In Ypsilanti, Jackson, in Detroit, in Holland, Pontiac, DHS found deported illegal aliens committed of homicide, murder. These folks are monsters. And you have Democrats that are advocating for them to get released back into your communities. Why aren't you reporting, and why aren't more people outraged?
Because the media is in the same party. That's why they're not reporting. By the way, that's why we are reporting. This is my job to help educate you and put your political opinion on firm ground. As I find this stuff, this is evidence that where you can walk away from this place a smarter, better educated person, properly connected to a political opinion, and on which stories we should be focusing on. We should absolutely be focusing on this stuff. Just for the children, we should not be focusing on UFOs and whatever other weird tangent, weirdo story that has nothing to do with most of what's going on in America. And what is important to me is putting in a good word for our sponsor. Very quickly, I'm going to read one of your experiences. Doug saved over $2,400. Sure that you plan. The call's out. And Tim Walz, she directly addresses Tim Walz in this tweet. Hi, Governor Tim Walz. Minnesota welcomed 47 Department of Justice election monitors across 6 districts back in 2004, 2020, 2022, and 2024. So they welcomed election monitors when they thought it would benefit them. Now, however, you, Tim Walz, refuse to comply with federal legal requests regarding elections. This raises serious concerns about transparency and accountability in Minnesota. What is there to hide? She asks. I'll let my chat. You guys tell me what you think Tim Walz has to hide. She's responding to Tim Walz saying this: Trump's DOJ monitoring elections is like a fox monitoring a hen house. So he's claiming Trump's the one that's stealing elections. We cannot allow our right to vote be undermined by political interference. Every state must administer their elections free from unlawful federal intrusion. If you believe that excuse, then that's why you're a Democrat. Here's another one. This is from Forbes magazine. The FBI told Apple computers to keep quiet about spying on a Republican staffer. Apple bit back. In this case, our department was looking at someone, asked Apple to spy on them because they were in bed with Qatar, with the Islamic Republic. Here's E.L. Jacoby breaking. The FBI has spent the last 3 years, our FBI, the last 3 years, investigating a senior Republican House staffer. Who's the senior Republican House staffer? Over allegations they secretly acted as an unregistered agent of Qatar. This is what Tucker Carlson does. This is my accusation of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens. The anti-Jew, anti-Israel people are all taking money from Qatar and these Iranian lunatics, even inside the Republican Party. Here's what E.L. Jacoby says. Qatar is everything they tell you Israel is. So everything they say against Israel, these MAGA anti-Jew protesters are based what they say about Israel like AIPAC money, and they're bought and sold by the Israel lobby, and we're fighting this war for Israel. It's really those people are defending the IRGC with paid money. This is from Mark Elias. He's the Democrat at Act Blue. Anytime he sounds the alarm makes me happy. He's on Jen Psaki's show. He says Donald Trump cannot cancel elections, but he can try to make it harder for people to vote, easier for the GOP to cheat. This is what the biggest cheaters in the world who are trying to offset your vote with illegal alien votes are telling you. That includes misuse of the federal government and inciting his MAGA mob of election vigilantes. They have illegal alien votes to defend. So anyone looking into that, they're going to accuse them of weaponizing the government. That's the Democrat. That's their whole, now you know their whole plan. He says we need to be ready to send up and protect elections. I assume he says stand up and protect elections. He means protect illegals voting. Here's McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy says he's still bullish on a GOP Senate hold. He thinks we're going to be doing okay this fall.
Are you bullish or bearish on Republicans' chances this fall?
I never give up on the Republicans. Look, with redistricting that has changed, the one thing we see, Democrats only had to win 3 seats 2 months ago. Now they have to win 9. It's no walk in the park. And look, having Hakeem Jeffries as your leader, that's a pretty good reward for Republicans with a chance maybe to win.
Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat, is the Republicans' best weapon. Now I'm going to wrap this up with a Benny Johnson post. Found this Tim Walz video from June 27th. Unearthed video shows Tim Walz saying deporting Tao Lu Vang, that's the guy that Marco Rubio mentioned at the very beginning, who assaulted a 10-year-old girl, would not make Minnesota safer. Tim Walz says deporting him would not make Minnesota safer. He says, I can find no reason how Minnesota is safer or better if Mr. Vang is deported to a country he has not been to since he was a child. Poor thing. So Tim Walz pardoned him. This is the party of predators. Democrat Party is the party of predators. And now you know. Don't forget to call Chapter, the sponsor of this show.
Okay, there you have it, folks. And it makes me wonder, so what does this guy do in Minnesota? I mean, is he like a highly skilled laborer or what? Like an electrician or a medical technician or, something like that? What's he do for a living other than, sexually abuse people? I'm just curious as to what the motivation would be not to deport this guy, even though he's been here since a young age. I mean, I would think it would be either prison or deported. But then again, Democrats are above the law, right? Am I mistaken? Okay, let me show you here that this video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel on YouTube. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. And yes, Rosebud SP. Yeah, she was my 39th chatter for this month. Okay, I think I put this in here. So I've got 25 people watching here. If you haven't given me a chat this month, just, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a frowny face or hi or whatever. I would greatly appreciate that. I need 75 unique chatters this month. Okay, so if you haven't chatted with me before, just give me a quick one. Okay, let's move on to Wendy Bell Radio. America is suspicious. I wonder why. Okay, let's check it out and see what she has to say. And I'm going to have to get this up here.
This for
even if you stand.
Well,
Let's
hello,
go to
America.
the party.
No our live allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. You know, it took me a couple hours after I heard that Lindsey Graham had passed away to really consider how that felt. I didn't agree with a lot of the senator's hawkish ideas on war, how many times he went to Ukraine, but I never doubted that he loved America. And it does not surprise me in the least that as his untimely death hit our inboxes over the weekend, that we would find out he had among the smallest net worth dollar amounts of all of the people on Capitol Hill. I never got the vibe from Lindsey Graham that you could buy him. I didn't get the idea that he was a huge liar. I believed he was a political chameleon, and as such was very important to President Trump. And they weren't always friends, and Lindsey said some things that I disagreed with regarding the president. But you know what? Those two men represent something that I think is really important, and it's the way things used to be. We used to be able to talk to one another. We used to be able to have honest conversations. And I don't know if it's this desperation for clickbait, views, followers, likes, attention. It's just made Congress so petty and so snipey and so unbecoming and off-putting. But it was in one such instance, and it involved Lindsey Graham, that I awakened personally from my own propaganda coma. Now, I've said this, that the Fauci global pandemic was a moment for a lot of us. But my awakening came in the summer of 2018. And it was literally Lindsey Graham interviewing Brett Kavanaugh. Essentially, that's what it was, a job interview for the Supreme Court. And he was incredulous, Lindsey was, that Dianne Feinstein had received a note several weeks earlier, before the confirmation hearings, from Christine Blasey Ford. Dr. Ford alleged 35 years earlier that she was molested, if you will, and that Brett Kavanaugh was some kind of a serial raper. Of course, the evidence was thin, the memories were vague, and it really exposed, I believe, for me, the depravity of politics. That you're so desperate for your side to win that you would do whatever it took to tar and feather a human being to ruin their chances of doing something important for America. It was this particular exchange in 2018. Literally, it was September, first week of September, 4 days of confirmation hearings for Brett Kavanaugh. Kind of settled it. And then Dianne Feinstein comes out with this bombshell letter and they have to come back. Senate Judiciary has to call a special hearing to present this evidence that the senator from California had been sitting on. And all of it was so dubious. And it just smacked so much of what Clarence Thomas went through with Anita Hill. And the Coke can, Pepsi can, whatever it was. You'll remember that story. This was where Lindsey Graham lost his ever-loving mind. And he called out those senators across the aisle who knowingly were trying to ruin what I believe to be a good man's life. and Lindsey let it fly. This was the moment that started my own personal awakening of how dirty and desperate politics is. Lindsey Graham.
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
That was everything. That was everything people like you and I felt watching this process. Watching a guy, just a guy, get absolutely chewed up and spit out with the most disgusting allegations. And then you almost felt as though it would be open season on anybody. The game is so rigged and the people are so corrupt that the humanity of serving, of doing a noble job for the people of the United States, it flew out the window. And I woke up. And when I watched Brett Kavanaugh testify the last day with his wife over his shoulder, sitting behind him, and his daughters, and he cried. A grown man on live television being broadcast around the world. It was the story. My heart broke. That is when I became fully in touch with my own political views. As a former television news person, I couldn't share my thoughts. They had no relevance. They ought not influence anything. I had to put it in a box and stick it on a shelf. Well, that box came down that day. And I've been changed ever since. Because that's not okay. That's not who we are. And a combination of bad actors in Washington, a deep state uniparty structure of filth, social media, and this rabid desire for immediate gratification and popularity, and look at me, and the corruption in the media, the bias, the lies, the propaganda, the garbage steering us in whatever direction we were supposed to go. Enough. We lost a good one in Senator Lindsey Graham, and I'm intrigued by President Trump's urging that Governor McMaster in South Carolina, who is supposed to make an announcement this afternoon at 4:00, that the governor announced Lindsey Graham's sister fill his spot in the United States Senate at least through the end of this year. His sister, Darlene, who Lindsey Graham adopted when she was 11 because both of their parents had died Lindsey Graham at 20 did that. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, the president calls the TV stations, the networks. I don't know if I've heard him this hurt before. You'll hear it for yourself next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty. That was good about Lindsey Graham. That was good.
Still joy.
No, please.
Ho, 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 it's magic, you know.
So the conspiracy theories are out about Senator Graham. Maybe he was poisoned. Maybe he was assassinated by Russia. Maybe there was some electromagnetic hoo-ha that happened. Or maybe he suffered the extraordinarily painful and almost always deadly aortic, rupture? Aneurysm rupture happened to a cousin of mine, and it is terrible to watch. That's what the medical examiner says. And living with a cardiologist, I can tell you that would be in keeping with a quick and surprising death. President Trump clearly caught off guard. He said he had just spoken with a senator who was coming back from his 11th trip to Ukraine. I guess they were both united, obviously, the president and the senator, on stopping the killing. Trump, obviously, wanting it to stop faster. But the president called into a couple different programs, and I saw him this morning calling into Fox as well. He wanted to make sure you got the message and that the story wasn't relayed to you by the fake news in the wrong way. This is the president on NBC with Kristen Welker, speaking with Lindsey Graham just hours before he died, and Lindsey's excitement to start back in the Senate and to pass the Save America Act. Listen.
President Trump, thank you for joining us, and my condolences to you.
Well, thank you. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way, actually.
He was, Mr. President, and I know that we are all just absorbing this news. We are all in shock. Can you tell us, Mr. President, how you received this news and your immediate gut reaction when you heard it?
So what makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime at, the early evening, maybe in the 7s. And he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. I had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker. But he sounded great, actually. But he actually said he was tired. But he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey. We're going to get it done. I'll see you soon. We thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it. And that was, very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly. But I got a message about 1 o'clock in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President,
he was such an advocate. He was, if he wanted to get something, and he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats and Republicans. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually.
And then the president called CNN and got patched through to Jake Tapper, who was asking Trump about Lindsey and he being not enemies, but opponents for a while.
Yeah, he had some harsh words about you 10 years ago when you were running against each other.
Did. Well, he ran against me, and he was, formidable. He was tough. He was tough and smart, and that's why I got to know him on the campaign. I didn't know him before then, and I spoke to him maybe once in my life before then, but I got to know him. He was one of the 17 people that ran against me, and he was, a smart guy. And it was a nasty campaign. He was tough and nasty, but I was nasty too. And it worked out fine. And I got to know him by little drips and drabs, and then we became friendly. And there was no better advocate. He was a fantastic advocate in the Senate, and he could do things that other people. He was able to. If I had a really big problem with a certain Democrat, he could work it out. You know, that's something most Republicans can't do.
An interesting thing, to be successful as a politician, you can't hold grudges. You can't. And it's a very interesting way that the president described them getting to know one another. First ugly on the campaign trail. Lindsey Graham thought he was unfit to serve, right? He spoke out about January 6th. And then Jake Tapper did this, which I don't know. Kudos to Jake Tapper in one way, because he realizes this isn't the time to be talking about anything other than the passing of Lindsey Graham. Listen.
Well, I know you don't want to talk about any other issues out of respect for Lindsey Graham, but we would love to have you back sometime, because I do have a lot of other questions for you, sir.
Sure. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Thank you for calling in.
We're trying to have CNN go in a normal path, and we'll do that.
Well, I'm on a normal path right here, sir, and I appreciate your time.
Good.
And thank you for calling in.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
I mean, literally, he has a million things he could say to Jake Tapper, who's the ultimate snake. This guy has been the biggest propagandist. He wrote a freaking book alleging that it was a mystery to him and to everybody else in Capitol Hill that Joe Biden was infirm and incapable and most assuredly not in charge. And we're like, what? I live in freaking Pittsburgh and I'm a mom and I saw that hour number one. Jake, stop trying to pimp your book, buddy. But there's President Trump. A little bit of a dig, but I'm going to be fair to you, Jake. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, a little bit of the conspiracy theory vibe. Was he assassinated? Then we're going to parlay that into allegedly proof of life from Mitch McConnell, if you believe this sort of stuff. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. I don't.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause that here. Let me and I'll have this in my daily news wrap up so you can watch the rest of that. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. Is the video that I shared with you. I've given her a thumbs up. I'm following her channel. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here, and I'm going to copy this chat. I got to come over here and kind of format it a little bit. We got so many chats, I had to format it so that we could get all of it in. All right, there we go. All right, now the chat is a permanent part of this video. As you know, when the live stream ends, the chats just kind of disappear into hyperspace or something. But let me remind you folks that these videos that I've shared with you here are videos that come directly from the producers. I've got the links to the videos here in the description box, as well as the links to the producer's channel if you want to go check out more information that they have. And these videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I've posted on Murtec.com. Right here's the one from Vince. Right here's the one from Dan Bongino. Right here's the video from Doug in Exile. Down here's the video from Wendy Bell. I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic and truth videos here. The kind of information, well, this is your one-stop shop for information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Okay, the link to Murtec.com is in the description box also. It's a free site. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your email address. I don't drop cookies on your computer. I don't have a bunch of ads popping up in your face. It's just a place to come to. I do the surfing for you. All you need to do is come here and pick out the producer that you like. I've got a nice range, wide range of producers, a wide range of information. I'd like to share all of this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so. And that's why I've put together my Murtec Daily News Wrap-Up playlist. Says I have 21 videos in here, about 9 or 10 hours worth of great information. We're going to start off with American Center for Law and Justice. Trump reveals his frontrunner for Senator Lindsey Graham. That's just a 3-minute video. Then we're going to get into Wendy Bell and Dan Bongino and Vince from the Bongino Report. Then go to some X22 report information, On the Fringe, Steve Deace Show, And We Know, We the People News, AP for Liberty, Barry Cunningham, a ton of information here, folks. So in the meantime, just go ahead and take a break. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, maybe a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes to get this set up in Rumble Studio. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your chats. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.